Hey guys! Today, the long-awaited 14th episode of Skibidi Toilet Multiverse finally came out, and it turned out to be quite lengthy, but also extremely interesting. The 4-minute length of the episode didn't reduce any amount of thrill or tension, and moreover, we faced yet another unexpected twist at the end. With the help of this video, you guys will find out who is actually in control of Drillman Titan and who's responsible for sending all those signals about the imminent danger to the Alliance. You'll also find out when Drillwoman will be appearing. Prepare to watch this video to the end not to miss anything. I can promise you guys it will blow your mind. Now make some tea and grab your snacks. Let's go! In the first scenes opening today's episode, we see an ordinary clockman as he's standing on one spot and looking somewhere off the screen. He has some kind of watch on his left hand, the purpose of which is a bit difficult to explain, and I suggest you taking a closer look at it right now and remember what they look like. You guys will find this information useful later as the video will keep going. As for the time being though, the squad of agents shoots down Skibidi helicopter they managed to capture. It looks like these guys decided to unleash all their rage against the poor guy and use him as some sort of on-air punching bag. Now take a closer look at this cameraman that seems to be thinking about something non-stop all that time. Then suddenly some brilliant idea struck his mind. He starts warming up, takes this Skibidi by his head, and goes something like, "Oh my God, what are you doing, man?" My suggestion is, this agent's intention was to do the same thing with the same exact setup as the agent from the 56th episode of the original Skibidi Toilet series did. And while Cameraman is about to some sort of harm to him, Drillman gives a standard thumbs up. Which is, by the way, something you should do too, guys. So do not hesitate to click on the like button under this video if you like my channel. I'm putting a lot of efforts to it, guys. Now back to the video. I'm about to move further. As you must have remembered from my previous videos on the leaks, I assumed that these guys had captured this Skibidi toilet for some sort of experiments, let's say, to create hybrids, as Skibidi usually do. However, it seems that the Alliance does not care about this stuff at all. So they catch Skibidi just for fun. Clockman is clearly not happy with what they are doing right now, and I also think that it would be better if they simply stunned this toilet and just waited for some reinforcements, after which they could have taken this Skibidi straight to their base. However, we shouldn't forget one crucial detail. Before all that, it would be necessary to remove that sort of thing the helicopter propeller's attached to, as there may be something of a tracking device apparently, although those are just my suggestions. At this moment, the POV tablet starts showing some strange signs, and then the inscription, "It's a trap," is being displayed. I want to draw your attention, guys, to the signs that appeared during that interference. Take a closer look at the first one. Doesn't it remind you of anything? Yes, exactly, this is Dom Studio. I have not been able to identify the second sign for now, at least, yet, but I think we will definitely figure out exactly who it might be in the nearest future. In any case, this means that all the Morse code hints were left by the guys from Dom Studio that do exist inside this universe. In the same way as Defuk used to drop hidden messages in the original series. POV shows this message to Clockman, and at this moment you can notice a few more details. First of all, there are 2 inscriptions on the agent's head that we can decipher as "forward." And the second thing is the color of the sleeves of that cameraman, which is dark blue. That's quite important, as we have definitely not seen such kinds of cameramen before, only those with blue shirts in the 54th episode. So I can state the agents with such clothes have not appeared in the series until now. As the agents were in the process of examining the tablet, Speakerman Titan flew to the spot, and he's about to face a serious issue, as he not only ran out of fuel in his flamethrowers, but also contains none of the fuel now in his jetpack, so he wouldn't be able to fly anymore. Based on the location of these spears in his body, I can assume that in the 12th episode, he flew not to the actual base, but to the airport in order to answer the call for help coming from the Alliance. I found it to be quite strange, as he could at least refuel one remaining flamethrower of his and one of his jetpacks as well. But in the end, this Titan finds himself to be practically unarmed. He has no fuel, and the poor guy was also deprived of his wrist guns. All he had left with were only his powerful speakers. But considering the fact that many Skibidi now wear protective headphones, I would say it wouldn't help him much with his troubles. Now take a look at this building with an antenna at the very top. Perhaps this place is another Skibidi base, and there is someone inside this house that transmitted a signal implying about this weakened speakerman who had flown to the place. And just after Titan's arrival, Skibidi Banshee gets there as well at some unimaginable hyperspeed. She is quite similar to UFO toilets. For instance, I can point out the same sort of gun from below, as well as a disc rotating around this toilet. And to add even more to it, she also has 4 rocket launchers, 2 of which are able to release acid rockets. And these rocket launchers are much more powerful than those we saw earlier. This flying monstrosity managed to pin our Titan to the ground using missile of hers, after which she flew up closer to him and began shrieking deafeningly. Even with the headphones on, POV additionally covers his ears with his hands, although it does not affect Titan's speakerman even slightly, so he immediately turns his speakers on. In a form of response, Banshee shoots the first poisonous missile of hers, and the protection barrier of the Titan's core is being broken right away, leaving it completely exposed and making Titan in an extremely vulnerable state. But then the Titan shoots a laser from his core, although it only hits the launchers that were already emptied, but still destroying them. I'm almost sure that speakerman would not be able to survive through the second acid shot, so apparently knowing that Skibidi releases another rocket. But right at this moment, Titan Cameraman arrives and protects his friend with his shield, after which he rushes at Skibidi that's now left without any ammo and starts destroying her piece by piece. But that Skibidi Toilet turned out to be not so harmless after all. The long metal tentacles come out of her mouth. And I must say, I've already seen it somewhere. In the 67th episode of Skibidi Toilets, the big scientist produced the tentacles from the bowels of his mouth in the similar way and removed the TV protection from Titan Cameraman. In slow motion, you can clearly see the removed lens of that cameraman, which means that he is now vulnerable to television exposure. While Titan was trying to recover, Skibidi decided to do the same trick from the first episode. But this time his friend was nearby, so he was able to save Titan Cameraman from another parasite infection by tearing off of this bug's head. The female Skibidi tries to push back and attacks the Titan's peer. You can see that she has not 1 tentacle, but actually 3. It's 3 times more than scientist Skibidi possessed, but it doesn't help her much, so Titan Cameraman just tears off all these sprouts and throws them out. And then something weird starts occurring. I mean, just look at him. His lens turns to be red, and the big guy flies straight into the rage mode, if I can call it that way. He starts beating this disgusting Skibidi furiously, which is something we have probably already seen in the 55 episode of the original series. You know, when Titan also started behaving way more aggressively compared to the usual state, when his camera did not glow in red. Meanwhile, Speakerman just stands there and probably considers his friend to have gone, well, a bit crazy. When Titan Cameraman produces the final blow, Skibidi Toilet explodes, which means that this female Skibidi is most likely a robot as well, just like the vast majority of strong mutants in the service of the Alliance's enemies is. As the battle is over, Red Titan approaches Cameraman and calms him down and holds out his hand to him, which is a reference to the legendary scene from the movie called Predator. The same thing also happened in the DeFuchs Skibidi Toilet series, when the 2 Titans shook their hands after the victory. But then suddenly some sort of earthquake starts, and Drillman Titan comes out of the ground. At this moment, you may notice a device that is unknown to us for now, but I think that with the help of this mechanism, Drillman can practically rise from the ground. Most likely this device is placed on the Titan's back, so it sticks into the ground and lifts him up like an elevator. Dom Studio sends a retreat signal to the POV tablet once again, stating that this is all a trap. Now take a closer look here. It seems like the Titan also has a tablet on his wrist, with the same order requiring retreat. But here the question arises, how can Speakerman see something? I thought he had no eyes, so he navigates himself in space with the usage of sound, but apparently he has vision. It is likely that the glowing circle under his eyebrow is his eye, and not the speaker. Titans are going to retreat after the message received, but Speakerman has no fuel left in the tanks, so the cameraman grabs Red Titan and they fly away together. I can't even imagine how powerful their jetpacks must be, considering that they can stay in the air while holding other Titans too. But it seems quite clear to me now why Speakerman ran out of fuel. It was basically because he took Clockman Titan, who is very heavy with him, from the Skibidi hangar. Thus, such loads increase fuel consumption greatly. Drillman Titan looks around, apparently trying to feel the presence of other Skibidi, but the agent with the nail gun implies that he needs to retreat urgently. It seems so, though, that this Titan has some kind of plan and he is going to do something unusual. The most interesting thing is that the other agents do not know what is going to happen. Helicopter arrives to help the Alliance and with the Marines sign on one of his sides, which is apparently another reference, but this time to the United States Marine Corps. There is also a cannon on this aircraft, which I think works the same way as Clockman Titan cannon, meaning it stops the flow of time for whoever this weapon hit. The agents started running away to the helicopter for a retreat, but the POV cameraman turned out to be way too slow and did not have time to take his place. A rocket explodes in front of him, and he gets thrown back, and once again the helicopter flies away without a POV, just as it happened in the 4th episode of the Multiverse. And now the first Skibidi helicopter with 6 rocket launchers flies out to us. But in this scene you can see that all 6 charges are still in the barrels, which means that he did not shoot at the helicopter. Maybe it was another toilet? Drillman Titan grabs a grenade launcher first, and then the second Skibidi helicopter flies up and Titan grabs him with his other hand. This scene shows that these toilets are all different. Firstly, the second helicopter does not have headphones, but it has glasses, and he's also not equipped with grenade launchers. Instead of them, there are 2 lasers. From this, we can conclude that none of these toilets were blasting their guns before POV. These scenes show how the Earth just starts to explode, as if someone buried a charge underground. And when it became necessary, he simply blew it up remotely so that the POV could not retreat with everyone. It is likely that they did it to see what happens next, because with the help of TV men, the Alliance can watch what the cameramen see. Let's move on further. Drillman and Cameraman were about to be surrounded by the toilets, and if we're still able to comprehend how the helicopters turned out to be there, I mean, they just could fly in themselves. Then the ground Skibidis could not go unnoticed, especially this huge tank. We have already seen someone like this in the 12th episode, only this time that guy is present without circular saws. It is apparent the Skibidi leadership has come to the conclusion that saws are quite useless against Titans. Generally speaking though, these toilets with chassis kinda remind me of R2-D2 from Star Wars. Don't you guys think so too? Titan starts charging its core and just look at how it happens. Doesn't it remind you of anything? I think this should already lead to certain thoughts, but we'll talk about it later. Having loaded the core, Drillman shoots a laser, and it turned out to be so powerful that a huge Skibidi tank pulls back under his pressure, although the armor plate withstood this shot. After that, the Titan uses his favorite technique. He lowers his jackhammer hands into the ground, and once again creates an earthquake so powerful that many toilets descend underground straight into the Skibidi hell. At this moment, the mountain crumbles into pieces and buries a few more Skibidi under. All this sort of action is being interrupted by the huge speaker toilet. It looks like just an ordinary Skibidi with headphones and a lot of speakers, but his eyes shine brightly with white light, as it was with the mutant from the 13th episode. He stuns the Titan, so Drillman assimilates the behavior of a gorilla, sort of. He runs up on the Skibidi and winds him on his head drill. As the Titan finishes the execution, you can clearly see the metal skeleton, which was the toilet's remains. After the battle, a scientist arrives at the battlefield and freezes time with the time-stopping gun, which he took from Clockman Titan. I will not dwell on it with that many details, so if you want to learn more about the scientist, you can watch my previous video with the leaks on the 14th episode. Approaching POV, he starts laughing, and the camera turns to another unusual toilet that looks like another reference to the movie. This time to the one called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Only here it's Charlie and the Lava Factory. He has the same hat as Willy Wonka and eyes looking like glasses. This toilet is quite heat resistant and can ride on his own lava, but most likely all the small toilets in it have already burned down. On the mountain opposite, you can notice another mutant. This time he no longer possesses a white toilet, but a black one, and he knows now apparently how to teleport. He also has arms and fingers that are much longer than we saw before. POV realizes that Titan does not have much time to live left for him, so he stretches out his hand to him. But suddenly the head drill unfastens and hits the ground, and we can observe the real core of Drillman. The same core is also a rescue capsule equipped with a mini jetpack. When the Titan's head rises into the air, we can see a clock on it, which quite strongly resembles the Clockman from the beginning. Most likely this is the development of Clockman to save the pilot of this Titan Drillman. And yes, I think that in fact this big robot is not the same Titan as, for example, Speakerman or Cameraman, and it is likely that it will be controlled by a pilot who sits in his head, as it was in the movie called Pacific Rim, where huge robots were controlled by people who sat in their heads. So the Clockmen have come up with a device that can save the pilot in case of the core body's destruction. And I have some cool news for you guys. Dom Studio wrote that in the upcoming episodes, we will finally be able to see Drillwoman. And here is one of the options for how she might look. If you want to see more art pictures of her, go to my Instagram. In fact, I think that she was the one who controlled Titan, and in the next episode we will be able to see her. It's a pity that she had to sacrifice the body of a Titan, but I think it was all planned. The missiles that were on the giant's back turned out to be something like nuclear charges, and when they rose into the air, the alarm rang. The Skibidi scientist realized that it was a trap for him, but since he knows how to teleport, he escapes from the battlefield. The missiles hit the ground, and that's how this epic episode ends. Be sure you're subscribed to my channel not to miss my new videos. And that was me, ISO Toilet. See ya!